For the record, my name is Brian Worrell, District 4 City Councilor, and I'm the Chair of the Boston City Council Committee on Ways and Means. Today is November 18th, 2024. This hearing is being recorded. It is also being live streamed at boston.gov/city-council-TV and broadcast on Xfinity Channel 8, RCN Channel 82, and FiOS Channel 964. Written comments may be sent to the committee email at ccc.wm@boston.gov and will be made part of the record and available to all councilors. Public testimony will be taken at the end of this hearing. Individuals will be called on in the order in which they signed up and will have 2 minutes to testify. If you are interested in testifying in person, please add your name to the sign-up sheet near the entrance of the chamber. If you're looking to testify virtually, please email our Central Staff Liaison, Karishma Chauhan, at karishma.chauhan@boston.gov for the link, and your name will be added to the list. During today's hearing, we will discuss 9 dockets. 1 that will cover the appropriation of funds for various schools in Massachusetts School Building Authority Program, also known as the MSBA, and 8 that will cover various collective bargaining agreements. We're going to do a panel for the MSBA grants first, and then we'll cover all the union contracts with the second panel. Docket number 1619, an order authorizing the City of Boston to appropriate the amount of $1,515,000 for the purpose of paying the cost of a feasibility study through a schematic design for the roof, window, and door replacement projects for the following schools: Kenny Elementary School, O'Donnell Elementary School, Adams Elementary School, Chittick Elementary School, Everett Elementary School, Garden Pilot Academy, Linden Elementary School, and Murphy K-8 School. Docket number 1613, in order to reduce the FY25 appropriation for the reserve for collective bargaining by $881,479 to provide funding for the Boston Public School for the FY25 increases contained within the collective bargaining agreement between the Boston Public School Committee and AFSCME Council 93 and affiliate Local 230. Docket number 1614, message in order for a supplemental appropriation order for the Boston Public Schools for FY25 in the amount of $881,479 to cover the FY25 costs contained within the collective bargaining agreement between the Boston School Committee and AFSCME Council 93 and affiliate Local 230 cafeteria workers. The terms of the contract is September 1st, 2023 through August 31st, 2027. The major provisions of the contract include base wage increases of 2% in September of 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026, with additional annual wages increases of $500, $250, $900, and $800 per employee in September of 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026. Filed in the office of the City Clerk on October 28, 2024. Docket number 1615, in order to reduce the FY25 appropriation for the reserve for collective bargaining by $57,880.86 to provide funding for the Boston Public Schools for FY25 increases contained within the collective bargaining agreement between the Boston School Committee and the lunch monitors, AFSCME Council 93. Docket number 1616, message in order for supplemental appropriation order for the Boston Public Schools for FY25 in the amount of $457,886 to cover the FY25 cost item contained within the collective bargaining agreement between Boston School Committee and the lunch monitors, AFSCME Council 93. The term of the contract is September 1st, 2024 through August 31st, 2027. The major provisions for the contract include step changes in September 2023, base wages increases of 2% in September of 2024, 2025, and 2026, and increases of 15 cents, 60 cents, and 56 cents to be added to hourly wages in September 2024, 2025, and 2026. Docket number 1617, in order to reduce FY25 appropriation for the Reserve for Collective Bargaining by $40,838 to provide funding for the Boston Public Health Commission for the FY25 increases contained within the collective bargaining agreements between Boston Public Health Commission and SEIU Local 888 Coordinators Unit. Docket number 1618, message in the order for a supplemental appropriation order for the Boston Public Health Commission for FY25 in the amount of $40,838 to cover the FY25 cost items contained within the collective bargaining agreement between the Boston Public Health Commission and SIEU Local 888 Coordinators Unit. The terms of the contracts are July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, and July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027. The major provisions of the contract including base wages increases of 2% in October 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026, and flat amount additions of $500, $250, $900, and $800, bless you, to be added in January 2024, 2025, and 2026, and 2027. Just have 2 more to go. Docket number 1640, in order to reduce FY25 appropriation for the Reserve for Collective Bargaining by $3,806,367 to provide funding for various departments for the FY25 increases contained with the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Boston and the salaried employees of North America, also known as CENA. Docket number 1641, message in order for a supplemental appropriation order for various city departments for FY25 in the amount of $3,806,367 to cover the FY25 cost items contained within the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Boston and the salaried employees of North America. The terms of the contract are October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2027. The major provisions of the contract includes a base wage increase of 2% to be given in order of each fiscal year of the contract term, and flat amounts of $500, $250, $900, and $750 to be added to annual salaries in January of each fiscal year, as well as a new prepaid legal benefit. Today, I'm joined by my colleagues in order of arrival, Councilor Flynn, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Braden. I received absent letters from Vice Chair Pepin and Council President Louis Jen. I would like to now introduce today's panelists testifying on behalf of the administration. I know that you guys have a slideshow, so we can get right into that. In your opening statements, panel 1, for docket number 1619, we have Senior Project Manager, Senior McLaughlin, Executive Director for Boston Public Facilities Department, Executive Director Jones, and Director of Operation for Boston Public Schools, Director of Operation Ford. The floor is now yours.
Okay, so good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank you for allowing us the opportunity to come before you to once again partner with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. As introduced, I'm Carlton Jones, Executive Director of the Public Facilities Department, and I'm going to turn it over to one of my colleagues, Senior Project Manager Brian McLaughlin, to run through the slide deck.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Councilor. So the Massachusetts School Building Authority is the state authority that oversees construction projects for publicly owned schools throughout the Commonwealth. It's a reimbursement agency, works with cities and towns and other local communities to create affordable, sustainable, energy-efficient schools, and is funded through 1 penny of the sales tax. The MSBA has 2 programs, the core program, which is for large construction projects, like the Josiah Quincy Upper School, the Boston Arts Academy, and the Carter School, which is currently under construction, and the Accelerated Repair Program. Projects before you today are related to the Accelerated Repair Program. The Accelerated Repair Program is also known as the ARP. The ARP focuses on facilities which the scope of work is just for roofs, windows, previously for boilers, but MSBA put a hold on it for the 2024 statement of interest process. These projects are designed to materially extend the useful life of buildings that can otherwise provide the desired educational program for the schools. The accelerated repair program has certain eligibility requirements. The roof of schools have to be over 25 years old. The windows have to be over 30 years old. The cost of a project has to be over $250,000. The building must be for educational purposes. And again, the scope of work is limited to roofs, windows. All statements of interest that are submitted for consideration have to be accompanied by a vote of the City Council and the school committee. For the 2024 submissions to MSBA, I'm going to turn it over to Brian Ford, who can speak to the BPS due diligence.
Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Brian Ford, Chief of Operations for Boston Public Schools. So as we get into the statement of interest and recommendations for BPS as it relates to the MSBA, there's a couple of different factors that weighed in heavy. During 2022, BPS was able to complete a facilities condition assessment. This was an industry standard for us in order to be able to look at all of our buildings objectively and know exactly what work is needed for each and every one of them against one another, and to be able to compare them against industry standards in the district. What we were able to do is we were able to track the metrics that the MSBA also has in them, because we also use the MSBA frequently when it comes to our core and ARP projects, and look at those metrics separately as it relates to roofs, windows, and boilers. In order for us to properly weigh out our submissions for this year's ARP projects, we took our FCA condition list. We also took our racial equity and planning tool and our opportunity index in order to weigh out exactly what was needed for us. And then we cross-compared the capital plan, our capital submissions, capital budget, to figure out where we might need some additional support. The funds here are able to help offset major repairs that BPS would be going through, and if these were not in place, we would not be able to make the repairs in as timely a manner. Next slide, please. On this slide here, you can see a breakdown of the different types of projects that we'll be going through in this year's MSBA submission, should it be accepted. We have 2 roof submittals for the Kenny Elementary School and the O'Donnell Elementary School. We have window and exterior door submittals for the building envelope-based repairs for the Adams Elementary, Murphy K-8, Chittick School, Gardner Pilot Academy, Everett Elementary School, and the Linden K-8. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. So the 8 schools before you today were before City Council back in February. That's prior to that MSBA submission deadline. So the council voted to support the submission of these 8 schools for consideration in the 2024 Accelerated Repair Program of the MSBA. MSBA reviewed all of the statements of interest that they received from school districts around the Commonwealth this past spring and summer. They visited these 8 schools in August, and at their October 30th board meeting, voted to move these 8 projects into their capital pipeline for the 2024 Accelerated Repair Program. Next steps related to these 8 projects is today we're here to request $1,515,000 to support the design costs associated with these 8 schools. Upon approval of the council, upon approval of this appropriation with the council, MSBA will assign an owner's project manager and architect likely after the first of the year. Construction for these projects, design will start probably in the spring of 2025 as well, and construction will likely take place in the summer of 2026 and summer of 2027, dependent upon lead times associated with some of the materials and how long the design will take, especially more likely for the windows. They usually take a little longer than the roofs. When the design is complete, PFD and BPS will be back before this body to request additional funding for the overall construction associated with these 8 schools. It should be noted that the appropriation for this type of these projects will require 2 votes of the City Council, spaced 2 weeks apart. And we also will have an amended version of the vote that will be shared with you. The original vote that was submitted inadvertently left out some boilerplate language that allows the collected treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, the option to issue bonds, notes, or certificates of indebtedness for these projects at variable rates. This provides the collector treasurer with additional flexibility in managing the city's debt and is consistent with the city's existing debt management policy. So before we turn it over to any questions, the last two slides for this just gives an overview of the collaborative efforts to date with the MSBA. Prior to these 8 projects being approved, we've had 35 projects in the accelerated repair program throughout the city, totaling about $110 million worth of construction costs, and we received just over $61 million in reimbursement for these projects. So with the addition of these 8 schools, that will total 43 ARP projects to date with the MSBA. And then we've also additionally had several core projects at the Dearborn, Boston Arts Academy, Josiah Quincy, Carter School, and we're in the eligibility period for the Shot Taylor. And the MSBA is currently reviewing the submission for the BCA McCormick or the Ruth Batson Academy. So in total, the city of Boston has been approved for $635 million in construction costs for MSBA-related projects, with just over $240 million coming back to the city in reimbursement. Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you. Would like to now turn it over to my council colleagues for questions, starting with Councilor Flynn. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Brian, Carlton, and Brian. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the important work you are doing. I had an opportunity to work with all 3 of you for an extended period of time, and I just want to say thank you for your professionalism for many years. Let me start with Brian McLaughlin. Brian, I'm going to vote to support all of these projects. Can you just give me an update on the Carter School in Roxbury, in the South End area, mostly Roxbury? Outstanding school, in my opinion, the best school in the city of Boston. I know they're also receiving state funding through this program as well. Can you give me an update on where we are with the Carter School, please?
Sure. The school is currently in construction. We're slated to turn that over to BPS in the spring or summer of 2025. So kids will be in that building this time next year. An exciting project. The work they do at the Carter is amazing. And we're excited to be kind of turning the corner in the construction. The building's up. The inside, you're starting to see the framework of what it's going to look like. So yeah, 2025 turnover for a start of school. The kids will be in the school in September 2025.
One of the unique things about the opening of the Carter School, what they're also building is a therapeutic pool for students, obviously the students with disabilities, but giving the students an opportunity to do exercising in this therapeutic pool. I think that's an exceptional program, helping so many students in need so that they can get their physical fitness, get their exercise, get their rehabilitation. How important is that for public facilities, for BPS to have such a facility like that?
I can't speak for BPS, but for the project itself, it's the first time that the MSBA has allowed a pool in one of their projects. And I think in large part due to this body and the lobbying that was done from the city. Mm-hmm. And it showed the MSBA that a lot of the children at this school, including their IEP, is aquatic therapy, and how it supports their development and how it allows them to learn better as well.
Yeah, thank you. We see student athletes that play baseball or basketball, football, hockey, and we support them as much as we can, but we also want to ensure that students with disabilities also have the ability to exercise and get support as well so that they can live a productive and healthy life. But having a therapeutic pool at the Carter School is exceptional. I'm so proud. It's proud of the school community for advocating for that. So I want to say thank you to the Public Facilities Department, for BPS team, for staying with it, because I know it's going to be a tremendous asset to students with disabilities and their families as well. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Council Murphy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation, and I also will be voting to support all these. It's important, and I know Councilor Flynn was just talking about the therapeutic pool, and definitely part of their education. It's not just, swimming lessons. So great to see that. I do have a couple questions about, on page 3, the eligibility. What does it mean about the school is not overcrowded?
So the MSBA will come out and visit the school and do a walkthrough of the facility if they feel that what they see is kind of reflects an overcrowded facility, then they probably pull back and not allow that school to move forward.
I mean, we don't have that problem for our schools, unfortunately, because most are like under-enrolled, but wouldn't you assume that an overcrowded school means there's a long waiting list and we're filling up every space for students and education? Just wondering, like, the train of thought there.
I think if they see an overcrowded school, they feel there's more issues in not only that school, but the district that would prevent them from moving forward with just a roof project or a window project. It may be along the lines that they may need a larger project, so the accelerator repair program isn't the right fit for that particular facility.
Okay, that type of, okay. And is there a reason why, and was it just for 2024, but boilers were taken off?
Yeah, they're looking at a program to bring in electric systems into schools.
So they don't want to repair our old systems if we're hoping to upgrade?
I think a lot of districts throughout the Commonwealth were asking about electric systems, so they put a pause on the boiler replacements for 2024. They actually came out and visited one of the city schools earlier in the fall. They were performing site visits across the Commonwealth on various types of facilities to see what it may take to bring in a heat pump system. And they visited City of Boston School as one of their visits to kind of gather information and see what the cost may be for a program across Commonwealth.
And do we in the city have the capability, the capacity to fix boilers that I know are old and break in other buildings, like knowing that this won't be an option going forward through this program?
Yes, we do have the capacity to repair our existing boilers right now. It's generous that we have capital dollars for our HVAC fund, so if we do have catastrophic failure in any one of our schools, we do have the ability to repair those and have an ongoing team to continue to service our boilers, even as they start to get towards that end of useful life.
Okay. And on the next step page, just wondering, when it says MSBA assigns an owner's project manager, what does it mean by that? Like owner of the building, owner?
No, so for every MSBA project, they assign an OPM and architect. We've done it on all our projects. The difference with the ARPs is they do a separate procurement process so that they assign the OPM and architect to Boston and all the other districts that are working with them. For the larger projects, Boston has gone out and procured their own OPM and architect. They do that to save time because procuring an OPM and architect may take 6 months. So we want to try to get these projects in construction the following summer or within 2 summers, so it allows us to save some time.
Because these, I will assume, will get approved, and you're hoping in the spring, but do we have a plan yet? And will these schools be schools that will be closed during the summer for this construction?
I would say it really depends on the scope of the work there. For most of these, we plan for the work to happen in the summertime, so what we'll do is we'll not have summer programming in the schools to get the work started, and then as we get ready to return back to school for the fall, the work is usually progressed to a point where it's not affecting on the children learning.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Council Braden. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. It's good afternoon. Good to see you all. I think this is the MSBA program, the accelerated repair program is really an incredible opportunity to fix some long-standing issues with our many schools that have a lot of deferred maintenance over decades. So I will be voting in support of this. I had a few questions just about, can you talk me through the process for prioritising accelerated repair program, and how do schools get on the list? Because I think every school could possibly be on the list, but how do you give priority?
Thanks for asking the question. So it's not an easy one, but it's been a lot easier over the last couple of years since we've completed the facilities condition assessment. So we're able to rank the remaining useful life of all of our roofs, windows, doors, boilers, and all the other SOIs for the ARP projects that exist right now. And then what we're also able to factor in, which is something that's not always there, is the age. The age is something we've additionally factored in to all of the metrics that we use to track the MSBA project submissions. So we do have a long list of schools that are ready for submission at any chance as soon as they meet eligibility based upon their age.
So what age, the age of the school or the age of the roof or the boiler, which are both?
So generally it'd be the age of the affected project. So whether it's the roof, the windows, the boiler, independently. The school's age doesn't play as big a factor. And so we use that there. And then what we also do is we apply our capital planning over that to make sure there's not another investment or lack thereof in the pipeline. And then we also work to make sure there's no other effects. So we work at the opportunity index and the racial equity and planning tool for making that order seamless as well.
Thank you. So that brings me to Brighton High School. I think their roof has had a problem for at least 10 years. I'm assuming it's older than 25 years old. Brighton High School enrollment is increasing, and it will increase even further with the capital planning process that's going around, restructuring, reorganising in Alston Brighton. Is there any possibility that the replacement of the roof at Brighton High School could get on that list fairly soon? Because I've been hearing about buckets on the floor for years, and it's really not appropriate at this point. It was evaluated as needing a new roof 10 years ago. Is there any chance we can get, thanks to your planning, like how can we say where Brighton High School would be in the list at this point?
So all of the schools exist on the list right now, so I'll just have to take another look to see where it is in the submission status to see when it would be eligible.
That'd be good, thank you. And if you could let us know, that'd be really helpful.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. My colleagues have asked all the questions I have, so just checking to see if my colleagues have second round questions. All right. Well, thank you guys for all the work, and looking forward to bringing this up to the vote, to get the much needed money into our facilities. Thank you guys. Appreciate your work.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Panel 2 is Director of Office of Labor Relations, Director Hassan. We also have Chief of Labor and Employment Council, Chief, sorry if I mess up your name, but please correct me when I get down here. Sosich? Suchich, okay. Director of Labor Relations, Director Pushy, and then Director of Office of Budget Management, Director Williamson. Not sure if you guys have a presentation or just want to open it up, council questions, but the floor is yours.
Yeah, we don't have a presentation.
All right, awesome. Let's now start with my council colleagues. This is about the union contracts. Council Flynn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The compensation part of it, can you explain that, Jim?
The wage patterns?
Yeah.
There's actually both the Public Health Commission, the School Department, and Public Health Commission. Is there a particular union that you wanted to address?
AFSCME?
Ask me for the cafeteria workers or the lunch monitors?
Yeah, we'll start with that one.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Jeremiah Hassan.
Yeah, so Council, we actually reached recently two separate agreements with AFSCME units, one representing our cafeteria workers. And so these are folks who work in our cafeterias preparing and serving food. And then the second was with our lunch hour monitors. So they serve a different role in the district. They're actually in charge of just monitoring students during the lunch period and at recess.
And they're receiving, what, 2%?
Yeah, so the wage pattern for both units is fairly consistent with the pattern that other city units have gotten, but there's some slight differences, which I'll explain. So it's the 2% per year, and then in addition, a cash payment added to their salary. So it's not just one-time lump sum payments. These are payments that will actually increase the employees' overall salaries.
What is their average salary?
So it varies. So these units are, the lunch hour monitors are 3-hour a day employees. And then for our cafeteria workers, it's a little bit more complicated because there's a variety. We have some folks who work 4 hours a day, some who work 5 hours a day, some who work 6, and then we have a large number who work 8 hours a day. So the managers and the assistant managers are 8-hour year-round employees. So they're significantly higher. I can pull up.
Well, was 2% the best you could do?
So we work with the city finance team and then negotiate with the union. And based on what our authorizations were, this was in line with the city's finance directive on what we could do. And I think it is important to note that a big part of the city's goal was to add in these cash payments in addition, which are going to have a greater impact for our lower wage earners.
Yeah,
right?
but 2% is not much of a increase, to be honest with you. Cost of living, you're probably losing money with inflation and with the cost of goods and food. But my question is, that's the best that could have been done, right? With what was with our work between the city and with the union, this is what we were able to negotiate. And both parties agreed that this was a fair deal. I guess that's a hard question for me to answer. I don't have. No, I understand. I don't think it's that much of an increase, especially for low-income workers and families that are trying to support a family on that type of wage or salary or hourly wage. I know it's agreed upon. I'm going to vote for it. I don't like it. The city council is getting a huge raise in January. I don't think that's appropriate that we get a huge raise and these cafeteria workers barely get a little bit of a bump. We can afford our house, we can afford our rent, we can afford our food. But these cafeteria workers that are getting 2%, I'd rather my salary increase go to these workers than accepting, I don't know, I think we're getting a $5,000 a year raise, which I think is high. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And Jim, Director Williamson, if we were to increase the percentage of the wage increase, would that grow the budget?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and I just want to remind, counselors that, sometimes, we advocate for one thing on this side and advocate for something else on the other side, but increasing our, wages for our city employees, which I'm all for, will absolutely grow our budget. Councilor Murphy, the floor is yours.
Low wage workers, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what wage they're at, it will grow the budget. Councilor Murphy, the floor is yours.
Yeah. We'll pay it one way or another, though, because if they're unhoused and can't afford food, we're going to have to support them somehow. Thank you for being here. I guess I'll also start with the BPS. I did do the math, so I guess 15 cents, 60 cents, 56 cents is what the 2% raise comes out to. I mean, I'm going to vote in favor. I know this is the third year, and it is the same questions. Most of them, Jim, you know, are mostly like cookie cutter. But it does seem in the past there have been like 1.5% there in the middle. Was there a reason why these were all 2%?
Well, Council, can I just jump in real quick and correct you? The additional 15 cents on top, that's on top of the 2%. So it's 2% plus extra.
That one was an additional 15. The other one was an additional average, right, of, the first one didn't have that additional one.
So cafeteria workers have the average of 500 in the first year, so it's retroactive, 250 in the current year, and then 900 next year, and 800 in the following year.
Yep.
And then it's broken down a little bit different for our lunch hour monitors because they are all working the same amount of hours
Right, they're the
every
same.
week. So we were able to do an exact dollar amount that will be averaged to their hourly wages. So that's why it looks a little bit different.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I totally know the difference working in the schools for 24 years. So is there a change too in the rate based on those schools that have full kitchens and those who have just heating ovens to heat up the food that gets delivered?
So we don't have a current differential for those who are serving in different types of kitchen models. You know, we do break it down by hour, like the hours that you're working, obviously, as hourly employees, and then the managers and assistant managers are full-time, so they're more of a salary and weekly paid crew.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Council Braden, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. The kitchen, the school lunch monitors, the 15 hours a week. Is that 3 hours for 5 days? 3 hours, 5 days a week. Do they? That's a very, very part-time position. Like I'm just trying to get the sense of the landscape. Do they? When schools close, they're out for the holidays. They don't have any additional benefits. They're low paid. They're very part-time workers who don't have additional benefits from the city.
No, they do have some paid time off in their contract for vacation and school closure days, as well as holidays. So.
Yeah, and then in your knowledge of this workforce, do they tend to have other jobs? Like if they, that's sort of outside your purview, but your understanding of your workforce is they also have other jobs.
My understanding is yes, a portion of them have other jobs. A portion of them, also have childcare responsibilities. So yeah. That's. During COVID, there were some, and I guess I just want to back up a little bit and say we have a very good working relationship with both the leadership of the union, meaning the president, vice president, as well as AFSCME in the union rep. So at times during COVID, we were able to negotiate, okay, some schools need 4 hours from these members. Are you able to do it and add a little time there? Yeah. So, we've had that type of strong working relationships so that when more time is needed for these folks, we can extend the day, and they've been open to it in some cases. But again, some people can't necessarily do that additional time.
Yeah, I think just given our population of our schools, the school lunches and breakfasts and our nutrition services are really critically important for our students. It's very hard to learn well if you have an empty stomach. So really appreciate all the great work that these workers do, and I will be voting in support of this. So thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Council Braden. First and foremost, thank you guys for getting us here for these much-needed raises for our city workers. For Sina, what is the hybrid work policy that was mentioned in the contract?
That is rest of the, well, if you are eligible for it, you can work, generally it's 2 days, and there's a policy, that goes through a lot of different examples in it, and if you're eligible to work hybrid, that's a determination made, like department to department, employee to employee. It's basically 2 days you can work from home.
Awesome. Can you explain the technology notice period? Are these numbers required to implement and work with the new technology that do it, or the city decides to adopt?
So that technology provision is, if Do It is introducing something that doesn't affect their terms and conditions of employment, this wouldn't involve the contract. Like if
Got
Do
it.
It is just improving technology, then it's something that this would be involved where it changes something the employee's doing.
Okay. I see we also, this is BPHC question, I see we added a longevity bonus, and I'm hoping, that was to help with the turnover or keeping retention. What's the usual turnover in these roles?
I don't have that information about the exact turnover and attrition in those roles, but you're correct that by adding the major change to the longevity program that already exists in this contract was to add a 5-year threshold. Normally, prior to this contract, longevity starts at 10 years. So that's one of the things that we did in the contract. There's several that are focused on recruitment and retention.
Got it. And our employees over at BPHC, they are angels, doing a lot of great work. I know it's demanding. I know it's physical. It's also could be, take a mental toll. Is there any support giving, to help with their mental capacity to the employees that are doing this work?
Yes, there are. We're a pretty diverse group at the Health Commission in terms of the type of services that we provide. So some of that varies from department to department.
Got it. Going to the union contract for BPS. For cafeteria workers, can you describe the average hours per week?
So for cafeteria workers, the way we broke it down, we did the math, and it was like roughly just under 5.5 hours is the average hourly amount per week. But like I said, we have a number who are 8-hour full-time employees, and then we have a number who are a large number who are 4-hour employees. So that's the average was about 5.5, I believe. But it's not like we don't have many 5.5-hour workers.
Got it.
It's just the average.
And I know that there's some roles, right, whether it's the crossing guard, could be cafeteria workers. Are we trying to advertise and connect them, with these positions so that they're getting paid more, I guess?
Yeah, so the crosswalk employees are not actually BPS employees.
The BPD.
They're
Right.
under the city. So I think there are some folks who have other jobs. It becomes a little challenging because of the different union representatives
Got it.
involved. And then I think there's some conflict of interest concerns
So
with
bigger
folks who
conversation.
are.
Yeah, maybe to pull them away from BPD, and maybe into BPS or.
I'd appreciate
figure it
BPD
out.
not pulling them away from us, as these are valued employees. But I think we are always open to working with our folks on career development too.
Got it. Awesome. Any second round questions? Councilor Flynn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question on the public health related contracts with Local 888. Was the increase 2%?
Yes, it was, but it was 2% plus flat rate increases. That total, that vary from year to year. In year one, it's 2% plus $500 annually. Year two was 2% plus $250 annually. Year three was 2% plus $900 annually. And the fourth year was 2% plus 800 annually.
Renee, was there any language in any of these contracts relating to veterans? Anything that supports veterans that are city employees?
I don't think we had anything in this contract related to veterans, no.
Is that the best the city of Boston could have done, is 2%?
Again, in the CENA contract, it's definitely more than 2% if you include the flats in every year, and that's what we would do, so it's closer to 3%, not quite, don't want to quote me on that, but it's more than 2%.
Little above 2%. Is that the best the city could have done?
I will leave that to a budget, I think, to answer.
Yeah, I think it was, we're developing this across all of the employee groups. I think it was a fair wage proposal agreed to by both parties. So I think ultimately it was what we ended up being the best we could do in the transaction.
2% is the best you could do.
Yep, 2% plus the flats, which I think is sort of a novel approach to sort of distributing the overall wage growth that lower wage workers get a bigger percentage as compared to the higher wage workers in the group. So
I don't think that's enough to support a family on. 2% increase with cost of living, inflation, with cost of good food and tuition and medical care. Here is the city council getting a big raise in January. We have money. We have enough money. It would have been nice to use that money to support low-wage workers in some of these city departments. No further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Council Murphy, the floor is yours.
And what Councilor Braden asked, many of our bus monitors also are our cafeteria workers. I know many of them do both and piece that together, but many also, like you said, they're not in a position to take a full-time job, so the hours are great for them, right? So I do agree that it's not a need to extend the hours there, because for many of them, if they do need more work, the bus monitoring is one way they definitely can pick up, because obviously where kids aren't on buses at the same time, they're in the cafeteria, so, and there's no pulling from different departments, so that's helpful. But I do have a question about our municipal police officers. I spoke with Lou on Friday because they have reached out to me, several of them, because their contract has been ratified. So I checked with Lou because they were hoping that we got it forward before the end of the year so that they could see their raises, even though it's not that much, but for them it would make a difference, especially before the holidays. So do you know the timeline? Because he said on Friday that it was ready. It just, in whatever office it's sitting in now, it hadn't been written up to come to us before this body to make sure we could vote and approve it before this year ends. We don't want them to have to wait until next year to get their raise. It's one of the only ones, he was saying too, that's still outstanding.
I know we settled the contract, notified all the appropriate departments. I actually thought it would be on the schedule, so
Yeah,
I'm not
he
sure.
thought so also, because he made a few calls and said like they dropped the ball somewhere and it should have been. I know I
Not
spoke
sure
with
what
the
happened.
chair trying to check, because I know there were several of them here today, so is there a way we could get that paperwork ready to at least vote on it for the December 4th hearing to make sure if we can get that to them before the year ends?
Do we need a budget order on it?
yeah, I think it just needs to be submitted. Yeah.
Okay. Could it be submitted for Wednesday as a late file, or I know the chair actually wants a hearing on it, or at least on, submitted so we could have a hearing before we vote on the 4th?
Let me check on that, Counselor.
Okay, thank you. Well, while he's waiting, I don't know if it'll take more than a minute. You can go to Council.
Council,
Brady.
all right, Council Braden, do you have any additional questions?
Don't have any further questions.
All right. I guess I have one more question. The summary mentions up to $35,000 for employee development each year. Can you describe, and this is for the CENA contract, can you describe what that includes?
Yes. So I believe this is the provision for them to be reimbursed for, this is reimbursement for classes or training and things like that.
Got it. And any classes or,
I believe they have to be approved. They have to be related to their job.
okay, if you have any language that you could submit?
Sure, I
All
did
right.
that, we just only one portion of it, but I do have a bigger article on it.
Awesome. And I guess one of the things that I have encouraged before in the past, that I would continue to encourage and advocate for is just knowing that some of our low-wage workers have to live in the city of Boston, and living in the city of Boston, whether it's daycare, whether it's food costs, whether it's housing costs, wanting to go back to school, or our children going to school, any way we can be supportive of that in the contract, I think is one way we can beef up these city jobs, make them more attractive, and keep people here doing the essential services that are needed. Just realizing that 2% every year, it's going to take a while, for a lot of these low wage jobs to get to, I think it was like $100,000 plus, like 174, right, to live comfortably in the city of Boston. So any way we could find ways to do cost savings inside the contract, like I said again, like whether it's food costs, daycare costs, some of the benefits passing down to family or immediate family members, I think that's another way that we can tackle or help save costs inside the household. Councilor Murphy, did you have? Oh, Director Williamson, did you have any?
I don't have information.
Okay.
I'll have to follow up later. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions from my council colleagues? Again, thank you guys for getting us here. And Councilor Flynn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I'm voting for all of these contracts that were negotiated in good faith, and that's collective bargaining, that's management and labor. I respect that, but I am concerned about a 2% raise for low-wage workers. That doesn't sit well with me when they have to struggle to pay food. I saw a low-wage city worker recently at a store in South Boston looking at a can of Campbell's soup. It was a chicken noodle can of soup, and I said to the city worker that I knew, what are you looking at the soup for? And the woman said to me, oh, I'm looking at the price. And she said, I don't have enough money to buy this can of soup. And those are our city workers, especially our low-wage city workers that are struggling to pay and buy food. And here we are, the Boston City Council. I think we received a 20% pay increase over the last couple of years, but that just doesn't sit well with me. I wanted to go on the record and acknowledge that these low-wage workers are literally in food pantries collecting food when we give them a cost of living raise of 2%. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Again, thank you guys for getting us here, all the work that you do for the city of Boston. In this hearing on docket number, I'm going to list them now, 1619, 1613, 1614, 1615, 1616, 1617, 1618, 1640, and 1641 is adjourned. Thank you.